One of the most anxiety-raising aspects of living a life underground as a rebel is trust, for there are many spies and infiltrators of the state. So for a communist rebel, it is hard to find someone he can trust, for is the person in front of him a comrade or an agent of the state, just pretending to be his friend? Today we shall discuss such a story in the case of Fratre Mitra, the priest, the legionnaire, the guerrilla, and the spy. Padre Mitra was born on April 3, 1939, as Silviano Giurotto. He was a man with many opposing professions. At 17 years old, he became a French legionnaire that served in Algeria, but disgusted with the tortures he seen there, he deserted and went back to Italy to become a robber. And while in prison for robbery, he found God, and after prison he became a priest and a missionary to South America. In South America, he was witness to Pinochet's coup in Chile, and fought with the communist guerrilla there, even getting wounded. So we have here a man of God who fights alongside with godless communists. It is this dichotomy and stories of gallantry that attracted Renato Curcio and Alberto Franceschini to him when they asked him to join their group. After all, what could go wrong? Father Mitra was a proven guerrilla fighter who fought against Pinochet's regime and even has the battlefield wounds to prove it. This assumption would be their undoing. For unbeknownst to them, Father Mitra again had a change in heart and started working for the government. And so was written. Because of treachery of a friend, this was the end of the original Red Brigades. Renato Curcio and Alberto Franceschini were imprisoned for the rest of the years of lead.
These are the leaders of the Red Brigades, Italy's most notorious guerrilla group. 15 of them have been on trial in Turin for the past year, charged with armed subversion of the state. Police fear other guerrillas will try to rescue their comrades in arms, particularly bearded Renato Curcio, self-confessed leader of the Red Brigades. The aim of the Brigatisti, as they are called, is to provoke a civil war between left and right in Italy. To this end, they've claimed the credit for a wave of shootings and bombings, especially attacks in which their defenseless opponents have been shot in the legs. The Brigatisti on trial have refused to answer the charges. They confine themselves to war cries and revolutionary chants. They've insisted on the right to act as their own lawyers. Others, who haven't been arrested, have shot dead lawyers appointed by the court to represent the accused and threatened to kill anybody involved in the trial. The hearing's been postponed several times because of this and difficulty in finding willing jurors. Judge Guido Barbaro, who is conducting the trial, has been sentenced to death by the accused from their steel cage. Police claim they have arrested 160 Brigatisti, but identifying members is a problem. They operate in isolated cells and are totally ignorant about other groups. So no one really knows how many members the movement has. Police have found it virtually impossible to infiltrate them because new recruits have to commit armed crimes to prove their loyalty.
The removal of Alberto and Renato Curcio from the chessboard gave rise to the new leadership of Mario Moretti, who committed the most infamous operation in the years of lead, the kidnapping and assassination of the former Prime Minister of Italy, Aldo Moro.
Aldo Moro rapito a Roma stamane all'uscita dalla sua abitazione. Gli uomini della scorta colpiti e uccisi, non si sa ancora se tutti, dal fuoco del comando.
Via Stresa, sono le 10 meno 10. Siamo appena arrivati sul luogo dove è avvenuto l'assalto. Ecco la macchina con i corpi degli agenti che facevano parte della scorta dell'onorevole Moro. Sono 4 morti, mi dice più un ferito, mi dice un collega, e l'onorevole Moro è stato rapito. Il sangue per terra, una pistola automatica. Ecco, 4 corpi sono qui alle 10 del mattino a Via Stresa.
Sono state le Brigate Rosse a fare quel rapimento. 10 persone, 10 operai, studenti, un operaio della Breda, un impiegato della Siemens, un contadino, io, una donna che è un assistente per handicappati, lavora in una scuola, un artigiano refice, 2 precari romani, uno studente, 10 persone normali, età media, sui 30 anni, proletari, gente che da quel paese, dall'Italia di quegli anni, ha iniziato un processo rivoluzionario, uno scontro sociale e politico che è iniziato tanti anni prima e che vede quell'azione, vede il sequestro di Aldo Moro, l'attacco di quella portata allo Stato italiano come un momento di sviluppo del processo rivoluzionario in corso.
After the kidnapping of Moro on the 16th of March 1978 in Rome, the Red Brigades asked for the release of their comrades in return for Aldo Moro's life. But the Italian government refused, stating the state must not bend to terrorist demands. Despite Aldo Moro's plea in his written letters, which was dismissed by members of his own party as being fake, or pleas from his own family, the state would not bend. The most hilarious and cruel plea came from the Pope, Paul VI, who asked the Red Brigades to release Moro without conditions. And so, 55 days after his initial kidnapping, Aldo Moro was shot 10 times by Mario Morotti and left to die. These were his last words.
The last letter Moro wrote from where he was being held is one of despair. This man, who served as Italy's Prime Minister for 6 years, expressed his disgust at the Italian state and his own party, who he felt had betrayed him.
I request that at my funeral there be no one present representing the Italian state and no one from the political parties. I ask to be accompanied by those, therefore, that are worthy of accompanying me with their prayers and with their love. Aldo Moro.
Pronto? E chi parla? Indipendentemente dal fatto che lei abbia il telefono sotto controllo, dovrebbe portare un'ultima ambasciata alla famiglia. Ma io voglio sapere chi parla. Brigata Rossa, lei deve comunicare alla famiglia che troveranno il corpo dell'onorevole Aldo Moro in via Caetani. Va bene? Sì. Lì c'è una Renault 4 rossa. I primi numeri di targa sono N5. Devo telefonare io? No, dovrebbe andare personalmente. E non posso. Non può? Dovrebbe per forza. Per cortesia, no.
The Moro affair, as it is called, is on the level of the assassination of John F. Kennedy, filled with mystery and conspiracies. So there is a lot of question, first of all, as to why the Red Brigades would kidnap and murder the leader of the Christian Democrats, who was about to create a unity government with the Communist Party. 2. Why did the Italian government refuse to negotiate his release? Well, before they had negotiated for the release of the judge, Mario Sossi, but this time they took the stance, we don't negotiate with terrorists. I mean, this guy is the former Prime Minister of Italy. Can you imagine if somebody kidnapped Boris Johnson and the UK government said, no, we're not going to exchange prisoners or give you money for his release? You can do whatever you want with him? 3. Why wasn't Mario Moretti arrested with Alberto and Renato in the raid? Who warned him, and why didn't he warn his bosses? 4. Was the assassination of Aldo Moro an operation of Gladios? And was Mario Moretti really working with the CIA and SISMI to prevent the unity government of Aldo Moro and the communists?
At the start of the Cold War in 1947, one Western country in particular popped up on the anti-communist radar. Italy. Once a fascist country, much of its population were now flirting with communism. Many believe that the CIA continued to meddle in Italian elections for decades, making sure Italy was always governed by a right-of-center government. But some historians claim that wasn't the end of the Americans' interference in Italian politics. They claim that after 3 decades of funding anti-communist parties in Italy, the US, along with NATO, went far further, brutally murdering Italy's most popular Prime Minister, Aldo Moro.
It made perfect sense in Brussels and Washington to have this man out of the way. It was a risk not worth taking.
By the 1970s, Italy had become home to some of the largest US military bases in Europe.
The hulls of many a warship owing allegiance to NATO are washed here. There is a huge nuclear base hinging on Vicenza, thousands of nuclear missiles, the largest stock of such, anywhere in Europe.
But in 1976, after almost 40 years of a right-of-centre government, the communists began to gain support again, winning 34% of the vote. The accusation is that alarm bells rang in America when former Prime Minister Aldo Moro proposed a coalition government formed between his right-wing Christian Democrats and the communists.
The real fear was that it would generate a popular mood against Italy's presence in NATO and in the westernized military bloc. This was the obsession which overtook Western capitals, that if you had a communist presence in government, it would in fact turn Italy into a province of the Kremlin.
In American eyes, communists at the heart of a Western government would be opening the door to the Soviet Union. Former MEP and author Richard Cottrell believes the US and NATO weren't going to let that happen.
The objective was to remove communism as a threat in an extremely important European country with a large number of strategic interests, which were too risky and too important to be left to even the slightest risk of the Soviet Union getting their hands on the tin opener.
The ideal solution, some believe, to preventing the communist coalition in Italy was to remove its key supporter from the equation, former Prime Minister Aldo Moro.
In cases where the infiltration of agents into the insurgent leadership has not been effectively implemented, it may help to utilize ultra-leftist organizations.
Even Mario Moretti's comrade Alberto Franceschini went on stand and proclaimed that he was a spy, a Gladio agent.
Non solo la mia, ma un po' di tutti noi è stata di grande stupore. Cioè stupore perché, innanzitutto perché per chi era Moro e cosa significava Moro. Cioè io non pensavo mai che i compagni fuori avessero la forza e la capacità di portare a termine un sequestro militarmente così complesso come era quello di Moro, che era il presidente della Democrazia Cristiana in quel momento. Quello che ci aveva colpito e meravigliato, credo tutti quanti, era quella che poi fu chiamata la geometrica potenza delle Brigate Rosse, perché noi ci ricordavamo un'organizzazione così fatta da ragazzotti, da ragazzi anche con poca esperienza militare, che nel giro di pochissimi anni era in grado di compiere, invece era stata capace invece di compiere un'azione militarmente complessa e difficile come il sequestro di Moro con l'uccisione della scorta nel centro di Roma.
The Moro affair illustrates the cloak and dagger aspects of modern warfare. You don't know who your friends are or even who you are serving. It's all very confusing. Bob Marley said it best in his song.
Man to man is so unjust. Children, you don't know who to trust. Your worst enemy could be your best friend, and your best friend, your worst enemy. Some will eat and drink with you, then behind them sus upon you. Only your friend know your secret. we're past the